for the last 20 years probably on gathering photographs, heritage photographs of the region, and he's now digitized them, and he has in the collection over 7,000 pictures that he's digitized and has available. Now, these pictures are absolutely great for research. A lot of things, people look at the picture and say something about it here or there, but the research material that's available on that is phenomenal. Sue Warren has been doing research in South Crosby almost for as long as I've known Sue. She was doing research on a book that she published on the Hub of the Real. And in the process of this, she has collected a lot of photographs, and they are now available. And I want to get this straight, so you've got over 800 of them on Lakes and Islands.
lakesandislands.ca.
And that's available, and anybody can pull that up by going to that website and get those pictures she's collected, which are really not the entire of Real Lakes Township, but the area along the canal and so on. So a lot of them are available, and a lot of them are being used for research. What I want to do today is give you some idea of how these are done to do research using photographs, of what's in that photograph that maybe you can select to know something about it. So without that, further ado, I'll ask Anne-Marie Harlbeck, who is helping me here today, to go to the first slide. This slide is a presentation that we have at the Chaffey's Lock Museum. And this was done by put together from paintings and archaeological study of what was at Chaffey's in 1824. And the people that put this together were the people that did the design work for the Museum of Man, which it was called at that time in Ottawa. Now it became the Museum of Persons, and I don't know what the name is now. But they put this together from all that material, which we then built the presentation that's there. So that's 1824, that's what Chaffey's looked like. Now, these houses that are there, remember those houses, the four of them that are sitting there, and what happens down the road or what you see. This dam that's right there is right opposite, right off the end of Dave Brown's dock, where he joins Jim Simmons' property and goes across to and it's still there. That piece, you can see it in the spring of the year when you go up with a boat of this broad white line that's underneath you with the stone. Now that's where Jane Monahan's boathouse is, and that's the distillery, and I don't know whether Bill's still using it or not. Go ahead. And this is a drawing after the canal was built. There's the locks constructed, there's the biowash at Chaffey's, but look over here. There are the houses still there, but now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there, and 2 more over here. Well, this is where the people that were building the canal, the workmen, lived in those. Now, we think that this one right here stayed for quite a while after, because the person that lived in that one and had the office in for the records was Benjamin Tech, who did the records for Chaffey. So the Chaffey house was up in behind there, and the remains are still there of the foundation of the Samuel Chaffey house. Okay. Now, when the locks were opened and the canal was operating, the record that was in the canal, and every lock contained these records. And the lockmaster made a record, and he showed the name of the boat, who owned it, and where it was going. This page continued on over here, but how much it was charged for that boat to pass through. There are the years 1832 to 1865, I think, that are at the museum that are available. We had a spill at the Museum of Water, which destroyed some of the books, and these were all taken off at the time and digitized, so we have digitized copies of those. In the archives in Ottawa are every lock station except Chaffey's. And it's really amazing there because what happened, the Flemings kept theirs, and then when they collected the stuff up, Herm Warren decided that they would now get lost. So he kept them here, and we now have them in the museum, we now got them digitized, we now have them available to us. And they're just pages and pages of this, and this is Chaffey's bills that I was able to copy, and that's out of the website that Sue had just mentioned. Okay. Here is the type of thing that the military used to travel originally when they first started going up from Ottawa to Kingston with the soldiers. And these are soldiers aboard, and this is how they went to start with. Now this is early 1830s that they went in this, and if you look back here in the background, those buildings that are right there, that's Westwood. And so that's on the Upper Rideau Lake. Now later the soldiers started traveling in these. They were pulled by a tug, and the soldiers were taken. Now what happened and why soldiers? The British Army continued to have a presence in Canada until 1867. The Guard unit at Fort Henry, the last one was the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. At Niagara, Fort York, they all had soldiers that were British, and they came over and they got here by coming through because there was no St. Lawrence Canal. St. Lawrence Canal was a bunch of rapids that you couldn't get the boats up. Okay? Now there is a picture of after the canal was done, and this shows the fort up on the top, and the fort that was built there, that particular building was 1837, was the one that's right there. So we know that that's 1837, that ship, steamboat, carrying 3 barges coming out of the Rideau. So we know from something else that we don't know the name of that boat, we don't know anything except the fact that in 1837, that building tells us that that boat was coming down with 3 barges. Okay, and now here's the Hunter on Openicon Lake. Most of you have probably seen that picture of the Hunter on Openicon Lake, and that was 1847, I think. I'm getting a little hazy on some of the dates on this myself, but I think it was 1847 that was painted. And this is the lockmaster's house at Chaffey's. Now this particular house that's there, as you see, is 1 story. It has windows in it. Prior to that, there were slits where you could actually now, if you look at the cement or the stone work, you can see where the slit was. So this building was built in 1844, and this picture was quite a bit later than that because it has windows. And we know from the fact that it had to be sometime in the 70s because that's when this building changed. Now this boat is called the, look at my notes, I can't read the name of it. This is the Victoria. And the Victoria was built by the Davis Company in Kingston. Okay. And this is the Stranger, and it was built in 1872 by the Davis Company in Kingston as well. And here is the Tug Edmund. And the Tug Edmund was built in Bedford Mills by the Chaffey operation in the late 60s. And you can see up here the old swing bridge. And that's not the oldest of the swing bridges, but that's one of the cable bridges. And here is when they were carrying coal to Smith Falls, and they started carrying coal to Smith Falls after the 1880s when the CP rail went through Smith Falls. And there's a barge coming in, and there's the coal they're unloading from in Smith Falls. Now, I have some figures that show from the rock records that there were somewhere in excess, in the big years of the 1890s, about 10,000 tons of coal taken from Kingston to Ottawa holding barges, and the barges took 1,000 tons each. So now you start figuring that out. The barge takes 1,000 tons, there are 3 behind the tug, and you have 10,000 of those. That would give you the number of tugs that had to draw coal that went through the locks. But during the period of the 60s and 70s was the big period of the canal operation. And I tried to get the figures, but I saw it on the computer. But down here are the totals. And the totals run up at times to in excess of 100,000 tons was shipped through the Rideau. Now that every direction, every way, because that was the tonnage that was recorded as the total tonnage. And and so that you have, I've got every lock out by the month and by the year. And I'd like to have been able to show this, but you can't see it, but there were 63 steamboats and tugs and steam barges operating on the canal at that particular time. And they hauled everything from the iron ore at Newborough, phosphate out of all the places along Portland, Newborough, Westport, head of Openicon Lake, all these places that they were drawing phosphate out of, which was a fertilizer, and basically it went to a plant that made fertilizer and went to Europe, except some of the Openicon phosphate went to Smith Falls to make sulfuric acid. There was all the grain that was ground at all the mills, and all those small mills that were all along the Rideau shipped the flour out in barrels, and that counted to the tonnage. And so when we talk about the mills, we've got our own right here, and there it is. And this tells us something about this mill that we see looking at the picture. There is a stone wall. You look at it underneath there, and there's a water wheel underneath that. And water wheels, the least efficient was an undershot. Next to that was one that was in the middle of the wheel and took it down. An overshot wheel was the strongest, and this flume led the water down to an overshot mill. Okay. Then in, now here I got a problem. 1902 or 1906?
1904.
1904, okay, thanks. 1904, the high water, the same as the kind of thing we had this year, went down through, tore the side out of this mill. And there's the mill with the side missing, okay? Now you look here, in this picture from, that would be 2 years later, because this was 1906. Look at the church, the sheds behind for horses. And there's the mill, and there is the old flume. But you don't see water coming out of that the same way, because at that, they now had generated the power through a process that the wheel was inside a steel container, and the water went down into that, and only the water that was used to run that turbine went through the mill. This mill doesn't have all that slop over because it's going through. Now, and I knew that had the turbine in it very early, because a young fellow that was around here very early, by the name of Don Moore, used to tell the story about going in underneath there and catching eels when he was young. And they had a turbine in at that time. Whatever happened to the turbine in the 1840s when it was bought out by the Phelps, no one ever knew, but it's not there now. But the church sheds, or not churches, but the type of sheds that you would find where you took your horses and put them in, back behind it is very interesting, okay? Now this is the DC West, which was, it ran on the canal for a lot of years. The DC West was built in 1874, and this is a picture of one of the locks. But she was one of the early, really luxurious in-cabin passenger boats, and it really did a job after 74. And then the Rideau Bell, and there's the information behind it from 85, and there's when she left Kingston and when she left Portland in connection to Westport and so on. She ran the Rideau, and the trip and the season is there when she ran. Now, the Rideau Bell, and it's really on Facebook about 3 weeks ago, there were pages about the Rideau Bell. People that had pictures of the Rideau Bell in 1910. You could remember that now. 1910, he's got pictures. Well, the Rideau Bell was built in 1885 and was licensed for 40 people, and then they expanded it in 93 to 100 people. But the interesting part of it is that burnt on Sand Lake on the 12th of March, 1895. Registry closed the 30th of December, 1895. This is taken directly from the boat registration stuff that's on microfilm in the archives in Ottawa. So it had to be typed off. We couldn't, take a picture of what it was. But there it is. I think that that's probably a great ghost story, is that picture. If we get a hold of the picture of 1910 of the Rideau Bell. Now, Bill Murray, he really knows where she is. He's been to it. It's on Bell Island in Sand Lake. And he knows well where it is. But if we get the picture, there's another thing for the ghost stories of Chaffey's of this picture that the guy has that was on the Facebook of the picture in 1910. Now this is the Kathleen, and the one thing I want to show you was that picture there. That's not the Kathleen. All of that's Great Lake boat. She's longer, but the canal hole. Now if you go back to, there she is again. Same picture. Okay, go back. And that was another one that ran up the Rideau and the Kathleen. Go ahead. Now there's the picture of the locks in about 1890. There, no, can't be 1890. It's 1895. It'll have to be after that because it was built in 1895. But that picture of over the bridge with the old bridge there with the cables and the bridge that went across the Bywash. And so that picture is one of the old pictures of that area of Chaffey's. And then we do know that this was built in 1895, so it had to be after that house was there. Now there's the new house that was built at Chaffey's, and it has the summer kitchen that's there, and has another outbuilding on it here, and actually there used to be across the road, out through the summer kitchen, and across the road, there was an outhouse.
Yeah.
You remember that, do you?
Yeah, I was really little. I remember it okay.
Notice where the path is going up. Yep, now it goes, there's steps going up, and look over here. There's a picnic table sitting outside. So the lockmaster had a picnic table with the operator, but that wasn't built in 94, 95. And the next picture here is one that I have had a great deal of trouble with. That is Simmons. That's not the front of what was the dining room portion of the lodge. I remember, because I used to eat there so occasionally when I was lucky enough, my father took me there in the 40s to dinner. But that had a front on it was totally different, had a big picture of windows. Some of you may remember it from the 50s. And back here behind it, you see that house? That's the old farmhouse, which was the original farmhouse, which was a story and a half. And these are the boathouses that were there. Now I have other drawings of this area where the farmhouse is up where this is, and the boathouses, there's none there. There's a white picket fence, runs all the way along there. Okay. So I would say that it was after 1886 would be my best guess. And that's all I can do. I can't, because as I was telling Sue earlier, I don't know what went on, but Thomas Simmons at the same time built the Cedars. James Simmons built the Cedar Cove. Now, between the Cedars and Cedar Cove and both last name Simmons, that 1 year there was only one entry for taxes in the assessment. I mean, what, the township must have gotten things screwed up at the time. What did you say?
Because I can't imagine that.
Couldn't imagine that. I can't either.
Not either.
Now, this is one of the big, beautiful cruisers that came through in the early 1900s, and this is the Lady Rideau. You know something about her, Sue.
I don't know that I did.
Oh, that's the one that was owned by the federal government.
Oh, okay.
That was the Lady Rideau thing. What happened is cabinet ministers and other people could take that during the, as it was a cruiser and had a crew to operate. There wasn't any such thing as, getting penalized because you used the government boat to go on a holiday and so on. Go ahead. Here's a runabout boat that was taken, and this is down at Davis Locks, and this runabout was an inboard. There's the hatch going into it. But unfortunately, where those cottages are now, look at all the rock and the trees. And there's the buildings, and up here on the top of that is the building that's opposite the locks that I think is probably connected to the Mahoney Farm.
Right, yeah.
So, next. And there's a boat that, the Vic 2, and the Vic 2 was built in 1890, and she operated on the Rideau as a pleasure boat for a while, and the people in Portland on the islands bought her, and she took the provisions back and forth to people that lived out on the islands. So that's the Vic 2, and those are people there that all their luggage and stuff that was on board, that's their holiday that they're traveling on through the Rideau. Okay. Now here's an interesting boat, the James Swift. Now the James Swift was built in Kingston in 1890. And if you look at her, I want you to look particularly at this wheelhouse. The wheelhouse is shaped like that, and there's a little spot behind, ahead of the stack. Okay, and then there's a far port, and there's another port for loading cargo. Okay, next picture. There she is. She was built in Kingston in 1893. She was licensed to carry 100 passengers in 93, and then she was changed to 150 in 95. She, owner was Daniel Newman, and she operated, and this was really interesting because I found out last night that after her name changed to the Rideau King in 1901, she was on the canal for another 20 years, but then she went to Garden Island where she sank, and the remains of her are still there, and it's part of the dive when you go to Kingston, with the diving group that you go, and that's one of the boats you see. All right, next one. Now there she is. Remember I said, look at the wheelhouse, the little building behind before the stack.
Same as
There's the one port, there's the other, the Rideau King. Well, that was the James Swift up until 1901, and then she became the Rideau King. Now, I want you to look at something else on this picture. Take a look at the house here. We saw the other picture of the house. It had a one-story summer kitchen. Now take a look at the house.
it's a two-story.
A two-story summer kitchen. No figures on because it's on Parks Canada land or on government crown land. There's no way to chase any tax down when they paid taxes on it because they paid a bulk tax. And so we can't find out when it changed in taxation to that. That's definitely a two-story building where the summer kitchen is. Okay? Here's another picture of the King, and this is taken coming in from Indian Lake. There's the island right there where Greg Alford is, and this is the point out in front of where I am. And, okay, there's the King again, going through the lock. The one thing I want you to notice here is the luggage, these people with the luggage, what's he got in his hand?
A gun.
Fishing pole.
A fishing pole.
And there's another guy with his, like a golf bag full of fishing equipment. And so this is what's happening with the Rideau King after she starts running loaded up the Reno, is she is bringing passengers and taking passengers from the area where all of the big fishing is going on. Now here's the Reno King and the Reno Queen meeting at the basin at Jones Falls. Now note in particular on the Queen, those windows. Okay, now I'll show you a picture later of her from the inside with what those pictures depict, but that is some set of pictures around there. Now there's the King with her port up there that's closed and her port here that's open. So, next, there's the Queen and going by the mill. We don't see the mill, that stone actually is there. But she's coming into the locks at Chaffey's. And there's the information on the Queen. The Queen was built in 1900 in Kingston by the Davis shipyards. And she was licensed to carry 150 originally, but in 1904 to 300. And she finally ended up, their registry closed in Valleyfield, Quebec, where she ran with the Braharnlaw Navigation Company after 1927. And in 1937, the registry was closed, and she was pulled up on the shore at the place where the first camp before you go to Montreal is, after Braharnlaw. Doesn't matter, anyhow. That's where she was pulled up on the shore for a long time after 37. Okay? Now there again is another picture of all the passengers that were on board and the people waiting to get on board. And again, look at the crowd of the people that are going to get aboard the Queen. And look at all the people that are aboard. Okay? There she's coming in. Look at all the people on the upper deck. Now that's a lot of people we're seeing aboard the boat. Now there's the thing I wanted you to see where those windows wrap around.
Yeah.
That's the dining room in the aft of that boat. Go ahead. Now there is the sitting room also in the aft, but up above. There is another parlor where you went for entertainment, the cards and so on in the evening. And here is the bedroom, and it's really interesting. There's the bed. Now, this bed is not a single bed, it's got two pillows there, so it must have been a double bed. There's another one above it. There's the sink in it, and how you were divided from the next room is by that curtain. And there's the sink in the room next. Now this is a different picture. That's the bathroom. If you didn't have a sink in the bathroom in your room, we went to that. Okay. Now, when we're talking about the number of people that were aboard the ship, this is really hard to explain. If you've ever seen figures today about the number of boats Parks Canada locks through the Reno Canal, it's something like 27,000 boats locked through the Reno Canal. But they didn't lock 27,000 through at Chaffey's, but they locked one boat through from Kingston to Ottawa and counted it 47 times. Okay, because that's the way the government worked. So what happened is these are government figures on the people that bought tickets to go on the boat. But the interesting thing is that 74,000 passengers bought tickets to go through locks.
Just before the war.
In 1912. The thing that every lockmaster had to do, and I'm sure he didn't count them physically, but he had to take the captain's record of how many people he had aboard. And that was marked down in the later journals during the passenger period that showed that many. I fell right off after this. When you got to 1920, there was almost nothing. Okay? Now, it was big enough that it had things that we don't think about. But that building right there, Mary Hamilton, do you know what that building is? Where the red dot is? Mary? She's not here. Oh, there she is. Do you know what that building is, Mary? That building right there.
I don't know. At least I can't think quickly.
Okay, that's on the lawn at the locks. There's the Hope House, there's the locks, that building with an upstairs in it. That's where it's like this station, railway station, has a ticket office. That's where you bought your ticket to go on the boat. That's where you waited on a rainy day inside of that building to go on one of the steamships. This building that's next to it is the freight shed. That's where the freight went into for that came in on the boat and was going out on the boat.
Grandpa used to call one of those the cheese house.
No, this is it here. It was moved up
That
to
was the
Shore Lane.
cheese,
That's the
okay.
cheese house. There's the dock there, and there's a small door right there, not a boathouse door. And that was where the cheese was put in at that particular time. Later, the cheese company took over one of these buildings. I don't
Okay.
know, Sue, which one it was.
Okay.
But that's where that boat is parked. There's a dock. Now, this building here was a marina. It sold gas. It had gasoline for all the boats that operated on the system on the canal. Okay? But that's how much you can learn from that kind of a picture that just many times creates questions. Now, here's an interesting fact here that James W. Simmons bought from the Crown in 1870, I can't receive 1871, he bought his property over where he was the lockmaster prior to that, and then bought that property. But in 1874, there's another fellow bought property on the canal, John Regan. And so we see that in 74 he bought it. Next time John turns up, you will find him where he sold land to David Anderson
Right.
for the tent camp. But David Anderson is in the Blue Book from Parks Canada of having from 1902 till he bought the property in it should be in here. Anyhow, when he bought the property, he leased the land that's the waterfront inside of that property where David Brown lives from the Crown, and he put tents on it. Then later he bought the property from John Reagan. So this is an abstract for that lot and concession number, which is 17 and concession 8. And in the land office, these abstracts exist for every single lot and concession with every transaction. Then you can go to this file over here, and that number is the number of the deed or the will that you can then go and pull and look at and find out all the details about it. Now here's the one here for the Pentagon Hotel, September 1st, 1899, the Crown sold William Fleming 11 1/10 acres of property, and they sold him that for $66.60. Now, William Fleming built the house that was on that property, and he sold the property to William Lashley in 1901, and he sold it for $1,550 because he had the house on it. So then what happened is you find that Lashley sold the house to Randall Montgomery, who was the trustee of the Opinacon Club, because it already had a wing of the Idlewild Hotel, and it's $8,000. Next. Now there's the picture here that shows the Idlewild Hotel in 1902. This is really interesting because of the fact that if you look up here, there's no balcony on the second floor. There is a balcony that they're working on the first floor. The railing isn't all completed yet. Now, we know that it's the summer of that year because there are flowers and trees. So that would be 1902 in the summer when they were putting that wing on, that they were building it, that the Lashleys were building it on the Opinacon Hotel. Okay? And then now there's the hotel after it became the Opinacon Club. The door has changed. All of these now have a railing that's completed along and another set of stairs going up there. Up here, there is a railing and all these doors come out on the balcony. But you see underneath this, there is a thing holding that railing up. Or that balcony, pardon me. That balcony is held up by those things that are underneath. There were no posts going down. Now here's the reason for it. There it is. There's the posts that hold it. It's only half a balcony. It It doesn't come all the way out as it did later and had posts going down to where this railing is. So that you're able to tell as you progress along in steps with what has been done on the hotel, okay? Now there's a picture of the hotel with this building completed. It has all of this completed, and there it ends right there. So the Pentagon Club, when it was there, did not have the dining room on as we know the dining room. All right, go ahead. Now there's the picture 2 years later that the dining room is on, and there's an upstairs balcony. There's also a gate here that you can close if you don't want the riffraff coming in. Okay? Now there's where the dining room was added. Now that's all closed in. That is part of the dining room where it's balcony on this.
Now, what year is that one?
I can't go by memory on that, so, but it's about 1914. That's when the Pentagon Club had the finished structure here put on the end. Okay, go ahead. Now, this one is about the same time in the winter, but the hotel is the same all the way along. There's very little change, very little difference in the hotel. But the one thing that is new in the pictures is
The store.
now, so in 1914, in the winter of that, when Cliff Pennick was taking that series of pictures, back of the annex was what became the store. What it was, I don't know at the time, because there is so much going on with the hotel, with the rate of assessment that they're paid, that the buildings aren't itemized. And you can't tell exactly, but it was 04. Now here's the picture here that I said was John Reagan sold to David Anderson the property that where the tent camp was, and that date is 1908. So in 1908 he sold it, but he already had a tent camp there for 4 years, because he's in the blue book for the Openicaw, or for the Parks Canada, which was Crown land at that time. And he's there, and he has the tent camp there. Now just for your own interest, there's Dorothy's Lodge. There's when Fred Alford built it, and he bought it from James Simmons, and that was
1913.
1913?
Yeah.
That's when he bought the property from that. Frederick Alford, he built a lot of buildings around here. But that shows you the kind of steps that you can take with the land office records, right? Now, the land office here, the Flemings built the Fleming house that was just torn down, and there's the date that that house was built, and he bought the property from the Crown, and I can't from this angle.
It looks like 1922.
1922 is when.
Because Jenny Lashley and her husband lived in that in about 1925, just for part of a season, until they moved into the other place.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now here is the Openicaw Club selling the property to Mrs. L. Phelps and David F. Anderson for
$13,000.
$13,000, and that's the sale of the Openicaw to the family that has owned it up until 1912, or 2012. So, but that tells you all kinds of information about it. Many of these deeds, I have pulled the deeds, and much to my wife's chagrin, I have filing cabinets full of these things at the house, and she has to dust them. So, all right, now here's the tent camp. Now there you see the tents, and right there's something missing.
Boathouse.
That's right, there's no boathouse. So that was taken before David Anderson constructed the boathouse or the house. Okay, now there is back where David Brown has his carport right now. That's the little knoll that you're going up. This is a knoll here. That's up to where David's carport is. And that's the dining room tent. It doesn't have the big floor in it, but the others have. And the ground has just been cleared back there. Okay? Now here's what I said, it has a floor, in these. The ones you slept in, the ones you basically lived in, had a wood floor. Now again, when I call on Mary Helen, she will remember the wooden floor in the tents that people came, because her father rented tents with the wood floors to people. Okay, go ahead. Now here is David Anderson's house, right there. And there is a one-story boathouse, but there are still tents on the property. Now, when I said to Marina that the people bought gas, this sign, I don't know if you can read it, but that says gasoline. Now, the dock has gone from in front of this boathouse, and it's now a boathouse. And the other one had a door, like a house door, that was small, and now it has a full door and it's open to the water. So it's now a boathouse. But that is where you bought your gas here, okay? Now here's the Anderson house. Here's a couple of the tents that were there. There's a better picture of the one-story boathouse.
Now, what year is that one?
I'd have to go back to that date that Anderson bought the property. I'd have to go back to that, you know, I'm trying to remember all these dates anymore is difficult for me now that I'm an old fart. Okay. Now, when I mentioned about the fence that was at Simmons's, there's the fence that ran along the Simmons's property. This piece of property here is where Dorothy's is now.
Right.
This piece of property here is where, up here,
That's the trestle.
okay, but look at, there's no ground. There's a barn where the trestle is going to be. That's one of Simmons' buildings that were there. What it was used for, I don't know exactly. But in front of this white fence, he had a stone patch there that said welcome. And I do have a picture of the fence and the building, and the welcome was on it. So that picture was before the bridge, but the Queen was already in existence. So it had to be after 1901 that this picture was taken. Okay, go ahead. Now, they talked about the people that built the railroad line from Chaffey's to Sydenham being Henniger's. Actually, the company was McDonald and Henniger from Smith Falls, and McDonald and Henniger were well known in Eastern Ontario as bridge builders. That was it, and they built a couple of 3 bridges in Smith Falls that were phenomenally difficult, and they built those plus other places. But basically, that's what they were. When they came down here to build the rail line from Chaffey's to Sydenham, they were the general contractor, but then they hired people like contractor P.W. McLean. And that was McLean that was not clearing the land here, but he was building the trestle that was used to take the trains across them. Go ahead, Henry. Now there's the type of thing that Henniger had the equipment to handle, to do, and they were putting that bridge in position. They handled all of that. There's the abutment, roughly where that barn at Simmons's was.
And that was Bill Riley, was the guy that actually operated that crane. He was
Okay.
Mary Dallas Roseville.
Okay, that was a Henniger and McDonald and Henniger equipment. Okay, go ahead. Now here's the trestle going across. That's up where you go on the Pentagon Road, where you go around by that piece that used to be a beaver swamp, is now like a little lake.
Yeah.
When you look across to the side of that, you'll see this, but it's all covered in earth now.
Yeah.
And there are 2 of these between Sydenham and Chaffey's. And it was this McLean company that Henniger's brought in as a subcontractor to build that. They also brought in a lot of subcontractors. Brown used to live just outside of Elgin. Remember his first name. Anyhow, he had the contract for the ties, and he had the wood all cut for the ties that went over the whole distance. And he did that, but it was a subcontract from McDonald and Henniger. Go ahead. Now there's another piece of the equipment that they're using to put down the track, and there's a siding that's just where Chaffey's Bridge is. Now there's the track going through there, and there's a siding there. Anybody ever see a siding there? That train is on the siding. Yep. But then you go back over here, and there's the piece that, and here's the train
And
station.
there's the train station.
The Chaffey's Lock train station, and the station master lived up above, right there. And all of the freight went in through this door, and this is where you went in to buy tickets. This was part of a farm that was down here. There was a farm, I've got another picture that shows the farm, but there was a farm down here. I used to go in 1949, I used to take the Pentagon's old Rio truck and go up every morning at 6 o'clock, and I could get a bit up to the station to get the meat and the fish and so on that was coming in. And the station master would be up to let me into that which was locked, and let me into that to load those things into the old reel and take it back to the hotel. Right? Now here's the boats getting ready to go fishing, as you see all the pictures from in Simmons's, the tent camp, the Pentagon Club. This is the way they went. That's a motorboat, and they pulled these boats with, and that's the guide that was in it. There's a guide in that one, and a guide in this one. And then what happened was the people rode the motorboat, they pulled them out, they got out of that, and they spent the day fishing in this, except for the lunch period. The lunch period was quite a party, and they had a shore dinner, which the guides were responsible for cooking, right? And they not only cooked, they had other things that they did
Drinking
too.
beer.
And there's, that's not beer. Now, I don't want to mention the names of these people, but
Oh, I know.
several, two of them.
Yeah.
Right, okay, now, but the reason I want to show you this is because what happened after the boats are
Henry
being towed?
Smith. That was Henry Smith.
That one right there is.
Yeah.
The boats were no longer towed. They had in them that St. Lawrence engine sat right in the middle. And the guide sat in the middle seat, and the two people he was guiding sat in each end of that boat. They were just the same as the two pointed-in boats that they rode before, except now they have that one-cylinder engine in it and drives the propeller from the back of the boat. And they steer with a mechanism that is a line that runs down both sides of the boat to a handle that it's got in it. He pulls the handle back and forth. Now, there's nobody in this room that's old enough to remember those one-cylinder engines. That's what the guides used here. So, and they went out for the shore dinners, and I think not only the fish were a thing that brought the tourists here to go fishing, but it looks like the party was part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Neil? You have a few questions, Neil, if there are any?
Yep. All right.
I've got one question, Neil. What was the bell doing over in West Bay? Was it the time the mine was going there?
Up in West Bay,
Yeah.
I don't know, probably, but no, the Bell was a passenger boat.
All
She
right.
was passenger. No, hard to say why, but there must have been some reason. She went to the head of a Pentagon,
Yeah.
but it was sad that she sank in, as you.
Yeah, and that, well, that's just down from where we have our place, like, and I was wondering, what year did she sink in? Do you know?
Yeah, I had it there on the screen, it was 1900 or 1901.
Yeah, 'cause I think that mine was still going, and so I was wondering if she wasn't coming up, because there were one time at that mine, 22 people working on it during that part of the 1800s.
Right.
Okay, well, Neil, thank you so much. That was very informative, and on behalf of the seniors, we present you with this, and good profit, and
Thank you.